Well, it's been a year since Ambassador Garcetti has been the US ambassador to New Delhi. It's been an incredible relationship between Washington and New Delhi, which has really evolved over the last 2 odd decades, which I've been tracking it, from an equation of suspicion, some would suggest, to one of genuine friendship, one of strategic alliance. In so many ways, it's come a long way. Thank you, sir, very much for speaking to us. 1 year over here. The last year has been fairly challenging as well. I know your embassy has done a great deal of work when it comes to helping people with visas, for example. That was a huge concern. But there have been diplomatic issues as well, the entire Pannun thing, for example. So glass half empty or glass half full or completely full?
I think it's a glass ready to be drunk. It is filled with water, and it has gone from very good to great, I would say. It truly was a historic year, maybe the most historic year in our relationship. We've gone from a relationship, as you said, in the past it was actually quite good at independence, but then we moved to suspicion, then moved towards collaboration, and now it's really one based on trust and friendship. One in which we can manage, I think, our differences and difficult moments well, and one in which we can see those opportunities, the most consequential relationship I would offer of two big countries in the world. Certainly that's President Biden's thinking. This is the most consequential relationship of the 21st century, and I think increasingly both of our people feel that too.
The US and India are engaging at so many levels. There is, of course, the Malabar military exercises. There is the Quad as well. But you also have AUKUS, where India is not a member in that sense. We've done so much militarily and strategically. Would the US want to see an active Indian military presence and support perhaps or partnership with the US in the South China Seas, given our concerns over an expansionist China?
Well, I think we share those same concerns of your neighbor and, our competitor, sometimes collaborator in China. We both are democracies, which is a contrast. We believe in a rules-based system. We believe that boundaries matter, borders matter. And those are concerns that I think really align us strategically. But that's India's decision of how and where it deploys its military. But we are very invested in helping India's military grow stronger. We collaborate not just on exercises, but this past year, whether it was the F414 jet engines, which are the most exquisite jet engines in the world, or whether it's the MQ-9 drones, to make sure that you have the capacity and the capability to defend wherever. And we've been so impressed, for instance, in the Western Indian Ocean, the recent exercises, 10 ships, not exercises, but operations to go after hijacked ships, to show that India isn't just interested in safeguarding its borders, but ensuring the world has a rules-based order and the people had to adhere to those laws. I think that really aligns us for the next decades to come.
Ambassador, just on the jet engine deal, in many senses the holy grail of technology transfer. America hasn't really done this with anybody else. But there are people here who are saying that, look, where is it? Why isn't it happening? Is there a delay?
There isn't, and right now it's between two private companies. So it's not the government of India or the government of the United States, but between Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, HAL, and GE. But all intentions of what I've heard that it's moving smoothly. It's a very complicated piece of equipment, so it will take some years for us to help India be able to manufacture here domestically, which is our goal. Yeah. As you said, we haven't shared this with some of our closest allies, which is a measure of just how deep this trust has become.
Resilient supply chains when it comes to semiconductors. Prime Minister Modi has spoken about it. President Biden has spoken about it as well. What progress have we seen on the semiconductor front in India and the US?
Well, there's no better place in the world in some ways than the United States and India to invest in semiconductors. Mm-hmm. Right now we have incentives in the United States, and some of the incentives here are the best in the world. So that's why American companies are investing. We've had recent announcements, in the billions of dollars. And people see the capacity of the great engineers you have here, a workforce that's coming up with these skills, and increasingly the infrastructure to support the very complicated factories you need to make semiconductors. I think India will become one of the great shop floors quickly on the mid-level and lower-level semiconductors. And America's committed to helping India go to the high end too, to have the most complicated things. It's good for your security, it's good for our security, it's good for world markets not to be dependent on one country for semiconductors.
Ambassador, there's been a bit of a concern in India about recent statements made by the US Commission on International Religious Freedom. In fact, Delhi has said, and I quote, the US Commission on International Religious Freedom is known as a biased organization with a political agenda. That's what Delhi has said. Russia has jumped into this and have sort of said that the US is interfering in Indian affairs. So, so in a sense, two questions. Your reaction to New Delhi's reaction and the fact that Russia has now jumped in as well.
Well, I won't speak about other countries exploiting the friendship that we have, but as I've always said, democracies and diverse populations are difficult things to manage. But would we rather have it the other way? Would we rather not live in a democracy or not both you and I live in these diverse countries? I think there's challenges that always come with that. The United States comes from a place of humility where we criticize our own selves and say, what can we do better? How can we make sure everybody feels that they belong in our American society? And so this independent commission looks all around the world at instances which might or might not be government generated. They might just be between communities sometimes where we know prejudice exists between human beings and we highlight where those things are. But separate from that, I know that in America and that India are committed to managing the diversity, whether that's religious, cultural, or linguistic, of both of our countries, and ensuring that we live in democracies, not dictatorships, where we are free to speak not only those good moments, but also criticisms when necessary.
The Pannun issue has been a real concern at so many levels. There is an investigation taking place over here, but the question that people ask in India is, given that India has concerns about Khalistanis and supporters of the Khalistan movement in the US, we've had our consulate in San Francisco attacked as well, etc., etc. What is America doing to help us address those concerns on your soil?
Well, in that issue, we take incredibly seriously. I'm a diplomat. An attack on a diplomat is an attack on me, attack on my family. And whether it was the FBI working very closely with Indian law enforcement or local law enforcement in San Francisco where we saw horrible attacks on the consulates, we take that not only very seriously, but we hope to find the evidence and to be able to hold people accountable. And we deeply appreciate, not just in those moments, but transnational gangs that operate in both of our countries. I would say last year, there's never been a year stronger than that in the coordination and collaboration between our police agencies, our law enforcement agencies together. Separate from that, obviously, is an ongoing criminal case that I can't speak to in great detail, but we also know we should be focusing on what people do when they cross the line, illegal behavior, no matter what the source, there needs to be accountability on that. What people say can be disturbing, but it's what people do that breaks the law.
And you expect that accountability in terms of New Delhi's response? That's what you're...
Absolutely. I think we've made that clear. We've had good collaboration. I would say, this is like an amazing marriage that we have found. Marriages have disagreements, even fights, and how we manage those moments defines the strength of a relationship. But I would say to everybody who said, ooh, this is going to be a hiccup, this is going to be a roadblock, our work every single day at the embassy, every single day at the Ministry of External Affairs, the Indian Embassy in Washington has not slowed down one bit. It continues to accelerate because we want this relationship, we need this relationship, and we have this relationship.
Yeah. Two quick questions. The International Space Station, I follow the space sector very closely.
Yeah.
There will be an Indian on the International Space Station. Could you tell us when? And I mean, how is that working? Do we have an idea of timeline?
So the offer that was made by the president was to put an Indian astronaut on an American mission to go up to the space station this calendar year. And that's still the plan. It's space, so as you know, you never know. Can't guarantee that it happens, but we do expect it to happen. Indian government has indicated who that astronaut is. I'll let them announce that at the proper time.
You can announce it as well.
No, I'll let them. That's not my prerogative. But we are so excited. And we always talk about this relationship as extending from the seabed to the stars. And that evidence will be seen this year, not just with an astronaut that we're going to help put in space, an Indian astronaut, but also a satellite that we hope gets launched this year, NISAR, which is a collaboration between NASA and ISRO. There is nothing that speaks more about the hopes and aspirations of our people, of our governments, and our relationship than our work together in space.
Ambassador, wonderful speaking to you. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and addressing all these issues. Thanks very much indeed.
Great year ahead. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.